entirely in comic book form. My dissertation was a comic book. And it's not a thing where I wrote a bunch of stuff and then said, let's find pictures for it. It's something that was created through the act of drawing and the act of writing as one. So I really very much, it very much argues for the importance of visual thinking and visual making, but its genesis was through that as well. So had I written a text document and later drawn it, it would have been a very different, I would have gone in different directions, discovered different things. Well, I think it always has been important, but it's not been accepted. I think that's the biggest thing. I mean, I think I lucked out in that I hit a time where comic books have been more accepted and people are embracing visual thinking at least a little bit more in schools and in higher ed. So I think I hit the right time where people were hungry for it, and I happened to have an argument that said why it mattered, and I was able to do it at the same time and had the support of my committee to go forth. So I think I think we are, as a larger society, recognizing that we make sense of things visually, and the more these messages aren't new. I mean, we've been reading about multimodality and visual, the 8 intelligence, all those things have been around for a long time. Reception's been fantastic. I mean, it's already being used in classrooms from high school philosophy to graduate arts-based research to education method. I mean, it's been, I don't know how many total, but it's in a lot of diverse classes already. Reviews and all those things have been extremely favorable, so I'll take that. And I think there's just a big interest in it. I did an interview with a paper in Brazil, and they did a review in Germany. I think there's a hunger around the world to see different ways of what education can look like. I think there's a greater interest in comics now, so to see those two things kind of smashed together, I think people are excited about it, and I think hopefully not just the novelty, but what I actually did within that has been resonating with people, to sort of push them to think differently. I didn't make a comic book that made things simple. I made a comic book that kept things pretty complex and hopefully was designed to bring people into a conversation rather than to keep them out. I think if you can make the case for it, you should do it. And if you've got, if you really, I think, part of my goal with this thing was to be the last person who had to argue for its validity, that the next person coming around would just be able to do it. And part of that also means is that instead of judging things about the form, that we're really interested in the quality of the work. So the form, I don't think, if you're doing something that doesn't relate to anything comics can do for you, and you just say comics are cool and I want to do this, but yet it'd be really a lot better if you did it with math equations or whatever. I don't think you should I think you should really be conscious of using form to help your ends. So if the right person, if the person came to me and said, this is something I want to do and here's why it really means something and here's how I'm going to tackle it, then I'd say absolutely. And I'd hope that my experience could help them in some way to go forward. Yeah, that's interesting. Because mine, on one hand, is popular culture and that it's comics, but I think the fact, when you asked about reception before, it's less seen as a comic, it's seen as a comic book, but it's more a comic book that's being read by non-comic book people than other things. But at the same time, obviously pop culture, is being used in so many different ways. Using superhero stories to look at morality, and looking at race and gender and those kinds of things through the lens of superhero movies or comics. So I think that's a really exciting time because I think, these are things people sort of live in and breathe in, so to bring them into, to bring that kind of stuff that's part of their world already into classrooms. The thinking skills are the same, whatever you're applying it to. So I think it's only beneficial.
It's a place that's designed to be multi-use and multi-purpose. So right now you see it as kind of a cafe setup, coffee shop and food and drinks and stuff. If you were here 20 minutes earlier, actually probably when you arrived, you might have seen it set up for a workshop this morning. Inside here, all these same columns exist. They hold up the second and third floor, so we've added idea paint to them. Students really make them their own. We, at the outset, wrote a bunch of stuff on them to try to inspire folks, and now have to go through and erase fairly regularly so that there's room for growth. That QR code actually works and is awesome if anyone has a QR reader. Came in one morning and Devin, who's a student, was drawing that out with a ruler, and if you scan it, it says you have the power to change the world. There's tons and tons of AV in the space. I won't go through it all, but lots of screens. There's in-room HD cameras that do one-touch recording. These microphones do voice lift, so you can stand on that wall and talk and be heard just as clearly against the windows. Little tiny details that make quite a bit of difference. The chalkboard that you see up here on this screen, when we first opened the space, we had just the chalkboards in the center. In fact, we said we need more chalkboards. We said this is 2013. Any questions about this space? How we use it? What's the sign for? Yeah.
These walls, idea paint?
They are not. And
take note.
Early on, a lot of people said every surface is writable, and that is in fact true, but it's not erasable. So this room is not, but there are all these whiteboards stacked in the corners.
The folks in the back of the room, that's really grown or become more stable, and you can see where over time that really, they play a larger and larger role in the kind of structured serendipity and all the things that happen. I'm just curious, is that the trajectory you're seeing?
As I said at the beginning, we're open ears and open eyes. I mean, we say all the time, and we still say it today, that we're putting the plane together as we're on the runway. And so in some of these cases, if a student has a great idea for something, we adopt it and try to go forward.
When I think of innovation spaces, the term that more comes to mind for me is creation spaces, which is both physical and digital. And the way I think about it is in terms of creation spaces as defined by Howard Pole and John Hagel and Center for the Edge. And a big thing for them is learning faster, learning from each other. So the successes and failures luncheons was really interesting to me.
Could you define the term information quality?
No.
I never think about this before.
Information quality, what do I think about the term? I really know nothing of the term.
The quality of information?
Information quality is filtering the truth.
I was going to ask you that.
Specific.
Accuracy.
Accuracy of information.
Relevant is the first word that comes to mind.
Useful.
Integrity.
Current.
Reliable.
Timeliness.
What you asked for.
It just have to be simple.
True.
Truth.
Verification.
Pertinent, which is a synonym of relevant.
From sources that, well, not only you can trust, but have some objective quality.
It's important to have high quality information to be an informed citizen.
There is so much information circulating around on the internet that's completely unverified.
Because it's going to be easier to live.
I happen to be a scientist, and so I'm really sort of concerned about the non-scientific nature of a lot of information that goes around.
The better information I have, it's going to make simple decisions. what to do and more choices.
It just means that I'm accurately able to portray the events that I'm hearing about, without bias.
If you don't have high quality information, you can't make high quality decisions.